This one's coming from r/confessions. I now own my parents' home and plan to evict them. Trigger warning for substance abuse and child abuse. Hi folks, I hope you are doing well and that you're getting a lot off your chest where needed. So this is a story about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, so I worked hard and bought my parents' house. Now, I will admit this right from the start. I am not a good person by doing what I am doing. I'll have to give a little backstory to explain this whole thing. My parents married young, I wasn't planned, and when they were growing up, it was the standard thing that when you have a baby, you get your own place. It didn't matter if you rented or bought a place. So with my parents being young and with a baby on the way, they rented from this lovely fellow from Osaka, Japan, who we'll call Uncle Kiru. Now, Uncle Kiru was a wealthy man who made a lot of money from oil and property, but he started from nothing. So he knew that being young, you needed a helping hand to get people started. So he would rent out apartments and houses at lower than market rates for people who wanted a roof over their heads. He still made a profit, and because he had so many properties, he always had a steady income, whether there's a recession, floods, war, etc. Now, Uncle Kiryu was always generous to me and my family, helped where he could. We even had him over for birthdays and New Year's. He once brought me to the dentist when I fell and broke a tooth at age 11, and he paid for it without a question. Over time, as my parents got older, finished college, got better jobs, he helped them move from a one-bedroom apartment with no garden to a nice townhouse to a 3-bedroom house right outside the city center in Dublin, all of which he owned and rented out to them. However, if Kiro has a fault, he always tries to see the best in people, even if their flaws are staring him in the face. The reason I'm telling you so much about Uncle Kiro is because he is very important in this story, and because I literally owe him my life. About 12 years after they had me, they unfortunately were in a car accident and had numerous injuries. My dad cracked his ribs, tore a muscle in his back, and dislocated both shoulders. My mom broke her leg in 2 places and shattered her right foot. Thanks to these injuries, they sadly lost their jobs. This was back when you could get away with making people redundant for long-term medical injuries. Thanks to the injuries and losing their jobs, they were stuck at home all day and could do very little except take painkillers and watch TV. I spent a lot of time with family, babysitters, or just hanging out with friends outside for at least a year while they recovered and went through rehab and surgeries. There is a part of long-term injuries that isn't always brought up: pain management. Between broken bones, torn muscles, and not being able to work, Mom and Dad were in pain and taking a lot of pills and injections just to function. And, well, pain medication can be quite addictive and can change you as a person. This was only too clear to see as my parents changed from proud, hard-working, loving people to addicts who cared about getting a fix. Once they recovered from their injuries, they couldn't get pain pills anymore, so they switched to heroin and alcohol. Once that started, the abuse soon followed. They teased me about everything, making me feel bad about getting 92 on a test, like why didn't you get the other 8%, stealing money that I was making at a part-time job I had as a waitress at a hotel. It's in our house, so it's our money. Complaining about having to pay for new bras or clothes when I outgrew them, which I unfortunately did a lot. Accumulating with me learning to sew/make my own bra extenders and repair tears in my clothes and school uniform. To this day, I still have an emergency clothes fund as a just in case. Guilting me into slowly doing more and more housework to the point my days literally consisted of get up, make their breakfast, go to school, occasionally go to work, come home, do the housework, make dinner, do homework, shower, bed. The moment that broke me was when I was 17. We had been fighting over something stupid. To this day, I still can't remember what, but I do remember what they said to me. My dad said, "You're just a lazy, good-for-nothing bitch. All you do is rip your clothes with your fat fucking tits and complain, even though we keep this roof over your head and food in the fridge." And my mom chimed in, "So shut up. You're worthless. You're just going to be a waitress all your life anyway. You're not worth a $5." This was followed up by a slap from Dad and my mom spitting on me. Have you ever heard the expression, you can't see the forest through the trees? Well, that damn day lit a fire underneath me and I got ready to burn the forest down. What followed was me putting all my time into school and work. The next 5 years seemed to fly by in a month. I don't know how or why, but I turned into a machine and made something of myself. I finished my learning certificate, got into culinary college, passed with flying colors, and got a job as a prep chef in the hotel I was working at. I moved out of my parents' house and into an apartment. Thank you, Uncle Curie. Busted my ass and got promoted through the chefs, and after about 3 years, sous chef. I wasn't the best chef there, far from it, but until I made sous chef, I was paid hourly. So I worked every hour they would give, and that earned me a lot of respect. Plus, I would always clear the oil and water drains in the kitchens. I also saved up a lot of money for a rainy day. All the while, my parents fell deeper into their addictions. We kept our distance mostly. We saw each other on birthdays, Christmas, etc. Occasionally, I get a call to borrow money for food. Here's a tip. If someone asks for food money, offer to bring them shopping. If they're genuine, they'll jump at the chance. If they're not, they'll run. Whenever I visit, their house has fallen into disrepair. Broken windows, torn wallpaper, burn marks everywhere, mold in the ceiling, etc. Broken plumbing. Seriously, I had to turn the water off to stop the second floor from being destroyed. Uncle Curie notices, but they won't let him in to fix up the place. The moment that made my attitude go from, I'm going to make something of myself, to, I will destroy you, was last Christmas. We went to a family get-together, and it was the usual party. Big turkey, way too much mulled wine, tons of pressies, old song about Odd Lane Scene, and everyone watching Mr. Brown's Boys. It's a popular show in our family. My lovely aunt was telling anyone who would listen how I helped save her daughter's wedding by catering the whole thing. I didn't. I just put her in contact with a friend of mine who specializes in wedding meals. And my dad, in his pill and mulled wine-induced stupor, decided to rant about my career. He said, "A caterer? A fucking caterer? Oh no, I'm sorry. You're some big Ponzi chef. Why didn't you go into construction like me? Do something useful with your life. Not some worthless career where all you do is peel potatoes all day." My mom, of course, decides to chime in and essentially mumbles some incoherent abuse, calling my work not a proper job. Anyone can do it. A cow like you isn't worth a damn fiver. Now, this is where they touched a nerve, I will admit. I'm a woman who has an ego when it comes to my work. I'm not at the level of Michelin star chefs, but I'm damn good at what I do. I worked hard to get there, and I know I'm worth something. Skipping forward a couple of weeks, and I'm at my Uncle Kirio's house for his New Year's party. He always celebrates it in mid-January for some reason, and he's talking about work and how it is a good time to sell some of his properties that are vacant. And it hits me. What if I buy my parents' house? So Uncle Curio and I got talking, and he realizes that with the house in such a state of disrepair, it would cost a lot to repair. So he agrees to sell it to me at a cheaper price rather than having to fix it up. I'm not proud of this, but I convinced or outright lied to him that I wanted to buy the place to ensure my parents would always have a roof over their heads. Well, it took nearly 6 months, but soon enough, I got the confirmation from my lawyer and real estate agent that I now own my parents' 3-bedroom house and I'm the new landlord. As part of the sale, I asked Uncle Kiru to organize the transfer of the rent payments to my new bank account that I set up, and I've had him work as my intermediary with them, so they haven't had to meet the new landlord yet. I can't evict them yet. There is currently a freeze on evictions in my country, but once the COVID-19 crisis is done, they'll have 3 months to get the hell out. Then I can fix the damage they've done and move into my own home. Meanwhile, they're on benefits and can barely afford a damn meal, never mind somewhere to live. I'm watching the calendar, waiting for my day to visit and serve an eviction notice. I'm not the good girl or the hero of this story, but I'm worth more than a $5.
Holy shit. That's... Wow, that is kind of crazy. She grew up with a rough childhood, though.
Yeah.
It seems. This is more like revenge. Like karma.
I mean, isn't some karma someone's revenge?
I would like to think karma is the universe.
Right. I would like to think that these parents were shitty people in the universe, and their karma is going back to them in the form of their child's revenge.
I mean, that's fair. That is true.
One person's revenge is another person's karma. I mean, that's actually a good saying.
Is it?
That came off the top of my head.
Is it?
Like one man's trash is another man's treasure.
I get it.
Oh, you got that one?
Yeah, I got it.
You heard that saying before?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Mrs. Teresa Bitty Sand who's never heard of any sayings. Soon to be Teresa too.
It's tough because it seems like they weren't always like this. It seems like the painkillers really did this to them, which is like a tragic way to go out, basically. Like,
it's kind of sad.
A tragic way to fuck up your life.
Be careful. Be careful with pain meds.
That is so scary.
That is, because like it wasn't like, oh, I'm bored today, I'm gonna try some heroin.
Yeah.
Like that one guy.
Yeah.
It was like they got in a serious car accident.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They did what
really sad.
They did what was prescribed to them by their doctor.
Exactly.
Do you know what people did in the old days when they broke a foot?
No.
They got some wood, slapped it together, and that was it.
And they didn't live as long as us.
Unless milk of the puppy was a real thing.
Huh?
Milk of the puppy?
Milk of the puppy?
Milk of the puppy?
Milk of the puppy? What are you saying?
Yeah, what do you think that is? Like, what do you think that
I don't even know what you're
saying.
Is?
Milk of the puppy.
Why'd you say it like that 15 times?
I'm trying to act old-fashioned.
No, I don't know.
I've always like wondered what it is.
Never even heard of that.
Okay, so there's some people who never even heard of that. They're like, what the heck is milk of the puppy? What is Denver talking about now? And there's some people who are like, I know what Denver is talking about because it's a Game of Thrones reference. But I've also heard it. I've also heard it in like other. I've also heard it in like other old-fashioned shows, like back in medieval times.
Oh.
I think it was like their painkiller, like
it's not Poppy. It's Poppy, not Puppy.
Are you sure?
It's Poppy.
That would make a lot more sense.
Bro!
That would make so much more sense. Because
Milk of the puppy. Oh my god.
Don't poppies, isn't that what you need to make heroin?
I think so.
And that's like a pain med for like back in the day. That's what they used.
It was always, I know from Game of Thrones, it was always Poppy.
Yo,
Brother.
how did I go through 7 seasons of Game of Thrones thinking it's Puppy? No way.
Yeah, poppy milk.
I'm a fucking idiot.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
So
milking a puppy?
If I said milk of the poppy, you would have got that? That is from Game of Thrones?
Probably not.
Okay.
But after you said Game of Thrones, that made sense.
So I was still slightly right. Teresa wouldn't have known what my reference was. Well, that's embarrassing. I don't know how to continue from here, so I'm just going to go on to the update.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for the advice. Here is the answer to some of the questions I got. Will you tell your Uncle Kiru the truth? Yes, I will tell him the truth. We're meeting for lunch on Thursday, and I'm cooking his favorite. Update with Uncle Kiru. Finally got a chance to meet with my Uncle Kiru. I invited him to taste some of our new dishes and work and admitted to him why I really wanted to buy the house. He nodded and said very simply, I know, I'm not happy about this, but I know why you're doing this. Once I convinced him that I wasn't planning on burning the house down, as he was very concerned about it for some reason, he gave me some advice and gave me the name of a management company, saying that he no longer wanted to be the intermediary. He asked if I realized they would have no home after this and that he cannot save them. I explained that I did. After that, he asked me to cook his favorite dish as punishment and made me promise to give him plenty of notice with the eviction proceedings so he could be miles away. Thank you to everyone who advised me to tell him. You were right.
For some odd reason, this episode, I'm feeling a little sympathetic. I'm feeling like the people in these stories maybe don't deserve everything that's coming to them. I don't know what it is, because in this situation specifically, like, they were...
I feel bad on this one.
I feel bad.
If I'm being honest, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, they didn't really ask for this. Like, yes, they are really shitty people to you, and that should not be excused.
I guess I feel bad because they got in a car accident.
That's what I mean.
They did what the doctors prescribed them, and this is where they ended up. It wasn't like, oh, I'm bored, I'm walking through the park, and I just accidentally picked up some heroin today, and I'm going to try it. Or even like, other, kinds of drug use. Like this one was full from
painkillers.
The system that we put trust in to help us in a time of need.
It's true. But at the same time, though, like, all of these stories where we're, like, really harsh on, we don't get the full story of, like, what made them be the person that they are.
Right?
Everybody is a product of their environment. Like,
I truly believe that.
Like, that person that is being really shitty to their wife or husband, like, their parents probably treated them really shitty, and that's all they know.
The world's a dark place.
Like, but I don't know. I get...
But also, if you go by that theory, too, that means that, like, everybody's shitty action is because of somebody else's shitty action. So where was the first shitty action?
When did it start?
Where does the buck stop?
I'm so done with you. I'm so done. I know you're just making shit up, I swear.
No, the buck stops with me. That's a saying.
The buck?
I'm pretty sure B-U-C-K. The buck stops with me. The responsibility for something cannot or should not be passed to someone else. That's a saying. Bam. When you are a minister, the buck stops with you.
Damn. Okay.
That's right. I didn't pull that one out of my butt.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I'm more gracious towards the offenders in the stories. And sometimes I'm just like all in. You deserve what's coming for you. I don't care what you went through. And today I'm feeling a little too sympathetic.
Got the sympathy.
I don't know what it is, but
it's the hat.
Yeah. It's
the ThreadTalk hat.
Yep.
All right.